Well, hello, Substack friends. This will be, I think, our final dream series. This video will be sort of the introduction, talking about some of the astrology, how to set up your altar, and also just kind of like a personal collective check in. First of all, it's the anniversary of my launch. I launched this Substack a year ago. And what's really funny is I was having trouble figuring out what our last dream ritual should be. And so, of course, the answer, as usual, lies in the cards. And so I did a reading, and the strength card was the center card. And so I'll get into that spread in a minute. But the strength card is also a card that I wrote about in my first Substack. And it just feels really in tune with the astrology since we're in Leo season. And Leo corresponds to the strength card. In most decks, there's a big lion, and Leo, the sign that we're in, is represented by the lion. So that felt really auspicious. And I'll get into the juice of sort of what we're going to be vibing with for our dreaming ritual in just a minute. But I wanted to just sort of name where I'm at and where we're at collectively. I'm just thinking about Palestine, and last night I couldn't sleep, so at like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, I went out with mutual aid flyers and Palestine flyers and stapled them to telephone poles in my neighborhood. I just felt so very powerless, and feeling like there's not a lot we can do. Um, but there is, and I think I think like trying to promote mutual aid, at least that does something. And I've been trying to speak out a lot this week. But things are just intensifying, and even if everything stopped tomorrow and the 8 trucks were allowed in, uh, so many people have already died, and a lot of children have entered stage 5 of famine, which means that even if they get food, their organs will shut down and they will die, and it's too late. And it's great that so many people are speaking out right now, and it's I'm trying to be heartened by it, but it's also I'm feeling just the weight of this moment and the collective failure of the world and our institutions in this moment where things feel too late. That's just where I'm at personally, and my own thoughts. I don't speak for anybody else, but I do feel like, collectively, we have failed, and there are still people who are alive and need our help, and so I'll just keep on doing everything I can to help people in Gaza and Palestine. The West Bank is also under attack. Yeah, and so just really feeling the grief of the moment, but also, moving ahead and not getting shut down by the largeness of the moment. And every little small action we can do adds up and can save lives. So we have to keep going. And I will put links to the mutual aid projects that I have been supporting at the end of this Substack. And if you find this work meaningful, or you want to be of service and you have some extra funds that you can give to folks in Palestine, that aid does come through. Unfortunately, there's a very terrible exchange rate, I think, because of the lack of banks. So about 50% of the money is paid to just for folks to get the money out. So people are only getting about half of what they're fundraising. So if you can, give double. And if you can't give, then, maybe you can just share the information or share your favorite mutual aid project. You're welcome to share the ones that I'll include in this Substack with your friends and family. And if you can't sleep at night, you can do what I do and print out a bunch of mutual aid flyers and get your staple gun or tape and post them up over your neighborhood. We just don't know. Every little effort can help, and so it's on us to do everything we can and also take care of ourselves. And so maybe part of the self-care can be engaging in the mythopoetics of tarot and astrology. I know that brings me a lot of joy and enchantment and revitalization. So yeah, just honoring all the feelings that I have, maybe you have, and continuing to do what we can to help folks. So thanks for that. This week's astrology is really tough, y'all. I have already been feeling my ass being kicked. I don't think that astrology is either negative or positive, but I do think of it as like sometimes it's more easeful and sometimes it's challenging, and this week is really challenging. We have our full moon this weekend, sort of lining up with some tough astrology. Mars is in opposition to first Saturn and then Neptune. And that shit is uncomfortable. And Neptune and Saturn are still kind of dancing with each other. And that's uncomfortable. Mars is the planet of will and passion and also war and aggression. And he's making a tough aspect to Saturn, which is boundaries, gravity, the collective rules of reality, and Neptune, which can bring a lot of confusion, perhaps to how we want to move forward. So to me, like, what this astrology is feeling like to me already, I'm recording this on Tuesday, August 5th, and what the full moon astrology I'm already feeling is a lot of heaviness, a lot of confusion. It's a big stuck feeling. It's almost like the brake and the accelerator being pressed at the same time, and also like challenging things coming out of nowhere that I wasn't expecting. Like just in my personal life, I have walked through an intensely challenging situation, and I was like really proud of myself. I felt like I'd passed the test, and I was like, oh wait, that was just midterms. Like actually now it's finals, and I wasn't prepared for the finals. Like I had used up all my spoons in the midterm exam, as it were. So that's like how I'm personally feeling the astrology. So I did a reading about it this morning, and I got 3 cards that I'll share with you. And this will tie into our work for this full moon. And the first card I drew is the Queen of Wands. And the Queen of Wands is actually one of my personal cards. I'll show you, and I'll put this picture. It might be hard to like hold it up to the Zoom camera, but T. Susan Chang, in her book Tarot Correspondences, has like this really intense wheel. And again, I'll put that picture down below, but it's every place, every date has like sort of a couple of cards that correspond to it, and my birthday corresponds to the Queen of Wands. So I love me some Queen of Wands energy. And so for me, that was like sit in your throne, reach into your own personal fire, be grounded, like don't burn out, because maybe I've been sort of burning out with doing a lot of activism, and I also need to do self-care, which part of my Substack is like my psychic side hustle, as I call it, gives me a lot of joy. And so maybe I could like do something that brings me joy. And then the second card was Strength, and this is from the Dark Goddess deck, so you'll see it's not a lion. It's a bear in this deck, which I think is super cute. And it's this goddess who is very much about like being your integrity. I like that the card is also about going out into the woods. Yes, I could go out into the woods today and maybe howl. The Strength card a lot, and 8s in general, are about facing challenges and challenging situations, and doing that from a really centered and self-loving place, and making friends with our inner demons or shadow parts, and moving forward and getting good marks on the test. And then, of course, that card also corresponds to Leo, which is the sign that we are in, the sun that we're in. And then the third card I drew is the card that represents Aquarius. It's the star card. In this deck, it's Spider Woman, which is a indigenous goddess showing our interconnectedness with all beings and all creation. I love this card. And so what's cool is that these two cards really represent the astrology that's happening right now. So Leo season, and the full moon will be in Aquarius, which is the opposite of Leo. And so the astrology always does that. We bring together our opposites for the full moon. And so the tarot was like, oh, hey, this is the astrology that's literally happening. You just drew these cards, so let's vibe with this mythopoetic goodness for the next dreaming ritual, which will be in the second video. And I just kind of wanted to jive with these cards for a moment with you. So I really do feel like in this moment, collectively, we're going through a huge test of strength. And strength also, it's not just outwardly showing strength and being strong, although maybe that's part of it too, but finding that inner strength to really overcome challenges and bringing all parts of yourself along. And the star card, typically, in this card, she doesn't have her pictures of water. I'll put the Coleman Smith picture in the blog down below. But typically, the image is of a woman who's not wearing clothes, having a pitcher of water. One foot is in a lake, and the other is pouring out this endless pitcher of water. And so, to me, what this card is really speaking to in this full moon is reconnecting with, as my teacher Amanda Yates Garcia calls it, our Awen, our connection to divine inspiration that never runs out. It's a pitcher of water that will always be pouring and always be replenished. And this card also comes after, happens directly after the Tower card. And so usually it's this moment of you've walked through something that's really intense, and it's this moment of replenishment and reconnecting with the world and the cosmos. And I wanted to talk about the connection between these two cards just in the tarot numeric system. So strength is 8, and then the star card is 17, and if you add 1 plus 7, you get 8. And so these cards are connected in the tarot. And actually, the Queen of Wands, my little fun card, has a visual correspondence to strength, because she has her little cat by her throne, and the strength card typically has a lion. And so I always typically think of the Queen of Wands as connecting to strength. And so when I get a reading where there's two majors and they both correspond to the upcoming astrology that's happening, and a third card that corresponds to one of the majors, it just felt very especially juicy to me. And I was just really excited that came up, and I just had this moment of clarity of yes, that is the mythopoetics we're going to be working with in our next dream ritual. So the invitation to you, dear friends, is to make an altar next to your bed with the strength card for Leo and star for Aquarius from whatever deck that you love. And I'll put pictures of those cards in my blog, so if you don't have a deck, you're welcome to print from the blog, or you can use your favorite deck or however you want to do it. And then as an advanced practice, I will put this chart from T. Susan Chang's book into the blog so you can actually see it, and you can look up your birthday on the wheel and find out what your personal birth card is, and really think about, for me, what I'm thinking about with my birth card is how can I lean into my soul's primary purpose, my soul's purpose in this card, and have that sort of move through this somewhat difficult astrology, which there's some auspicious astrology happening on August 11th, and so we're sort of moving through sort of a narrow place, I'll call it, a sort of a crucible a little bit collectively and maybe individually. and coming to hopefully a place of more expanse. And so if you want to use this wheel to look up your personal birth card, or you want to pick a card another way, you just want to pick from your deck, or another card that resonates with you. This is art, not a science. Please use the mythopoetics that resonate with you always. And so if your birth card doesn't resonate with you, you could figure out another card. You could look up your soul card, which I'm not going to get into, but it's a numeric way of another way of looking up sort of like your soul's purpose. Or you could just pick a card for this period that feels relevant to you. You could either just look at your cards and just pick one intentionally from looking at them, or just pick one blind, or without looking, I should say, rather, and find the meaning that's meaningful for you. And we'll meet back here in another video, and I'll give you one more dreaming meditation that you can use for this period we're all in. Final note, take good care of yourselves and each other out there, and remember to come back to center. And if you can use the tarot to help you with that, I have a picture of the strength card that I've sort of like laminated it with packaging tape, and I might put that on my water bottle today, because I certainly could use more strength, and I want the strength card to infuse the water I drink this week to get me through this very, very challenging time. So catch the next video. We'll do a meditation together before you go to bed. Set up your altar so you have that ready to go, and don't forget to check out the mutual aid links at the end of this video. If you can, donate, and if you don't have the funds for that, maybe you could share it with your friends, family, or go out and put them up on the telephone poles in your neighborhood. Okay, a little bit of a longer video this week, but hopefully it was fruitful. And as always, take the meaning that works for you and leave the rest. Thank you.